We're standing on the edge of something big, and we're gonna make some changes. We're gonna make some changes.
Hi, I'm pleased to announce something very special to me, a new subscription-based service through NextAct Advisors that allows members exclusive access to personal industry insights and bespoke corporate governance knowledge. This comes in the form of blogs, personal book recommendations, and early access to the Founders Sandbox podcast episodes before they release to the public. If you want more white glove information on building your startup with information like what was in today's episode, sign up at the link in the show notes to enjoy being a special member of NextAct Advisors. As a thank you to Founders Sandbox listeners, you can use code SANDBOX25 at checkout to enjoy 25% off your membership costs. Thank you. Welcome back to the Founders Sandbox. I am Brenda McCabe, your host of this monthly podcast in which I bring entrepreneurs, founders, corporate directors, and professional service providers who, like me, want to effectuate change in the world by building resilient, scalable, and purpose-driven companies. I like to recreate a fun sandbox environment with my guests, and we will touch on not only their purpose and what has driven them to create their own businesses, but also we're going to touch upon topics such as resilience, purpose-driven, and scalable, sustainable growth. Today, I am absolutely delighted to have as my guest Chasity Wright. Welcome, Chasity.
Hey, thank you for having me. Super excited to talk about how Infiltron has evolved and, the lessons learned and how we're preparing to relaunch in 2025.
Excellent. And it's perfect timing because I've known you for a couple years now.
Yeah.
Right. So Chasity is CEO and founder of Infiltron Software Suite, a company that's headquartered out of Atlanta. She is oftentimes in Los Angeles because she's working largely in the defense market and cybersecurity. So I wanted to have you on my podcast because you have gone further in building your business. So you and I met, I want to say, back in 2022. You came out of the Women Founders Network cohort.
Yes.
You were kind of very early stage. One of the events that I was a host of was the Thai SoCal Women's Fund. And you weren't yet ready for investing, but we struck up, I would say, a friendship, and I admire many things about you and we'll get into it in the podcast here. But you touch quite a few or check quite a few boxes for my podcast. So you are a women-owned veteran, a women-owned business. You are a veteran of the Air Force. You're in Deeptech, and you're Bipoc and queer. And so there's many, many boxes that you check, and it was difficult to kind of hone in on what I really wanted to bring into the podcast today, but we're gonna start from here. I always like to ask my guests to start with kind of their origin story. I when I first met you, right, in private conversations, got to hear your origin story and why you do what you do, what your firsthand experience while on missions, all right, that really informed your aha moments to create Infiltron as a cybersecurity company. So tell us a bit about your origin story, Chasity.
So I mean, my origin story has, if you can imagine, all of these different paths kind of streamlining into one path. So one of those paths would be a little Black girl born in Georgia, still seeing dirt roads and being able to go to the country and work on a farm and, just still having that connection to the past, and not necessarily the past in a bad way. So athletic, played ball in college, went to Clark Atlanta University. The HBCUs are a big hoorah right now, but they've always been one.
Nice.
I grew up with one in my backyard, Fort Valley State, which is in Fort Valley, Georgia. So, roughed it with the boys, played in the backyard with the boys, always been a boys, girl, cousins, neighbor. We're all still close. We all still play sports when we meet. So it's like an adult play date, so to speak. But also, raised religiously. I'm in Southern Baptist Church, two-parent household, maybe lower middle class. But middle school was very transformative for me because they decided to mix in everybody. So it was my first time, being in a more diverse population in school. And, music is a big thing for me as well. I DJ, I make music. That's the creative part of me. And I found a lot of people in Deeptech do something with music. So that's my like early years background. And then coming through, I decided to go into the Air Force. I actually took off between my junior and senior year at Clark Atlanta. There I was majoring in global leadership and management.
Okay.
And went in, and I was in for 8 years. I was an aerospace engineer, got deployed several times to different places. And that kind of brings us to why Infiltron exists. And on one of those deployments, I was a part of a network takedown. And it was, woo, like, I don't mean to quote the pitch deck story, but it is what it is. Like, I wrote it because that's the way it felt. It was catastrophic. So just imagine, the city of Los Angeles losing power out of nowhere. Like the rail stops working. Sinai has no power. So all of the medical equipment is no longer working. The internet's got completely gone and not rebooting like it normally would. Your energy grid is down. That is what I experienced in one of those deployments. And I was a part of Iraqi freedom and Afghanistan. I was a part of both of those wars. And when we came, we got everything back. Thank God, we were smart enough to ship brand new equipment.
Okay.
That, we weren't able to
build it there.
Yeah, that's part of our job. We're engineers, and when you're in the middle of nowhere, there's no calling HP, there's no calling Cisco. Like, you got to know how to do what needs to be done. There was a lot of makeshifting. I came out of the Air Force. I could be a mechanical engineer too, because we had to figure out how to make components on the fly. It was just so many things. Innovation, right? Like, you had to be innovative. You had to be adapt quickly while keeping the mission, as a focus. So just imagine something that catastrophic, and something similar has happened. I feel like Colonial Pipeline was something that is known now in the US for sure, that had similar elements of what we experienced in being deployed.
Yeah, and that was 2 years back.
And SolarWinds is another one. I generally refer to those because people generally gasp, even non-technical people, because they know how damaging it was. So we couldn't reuse. We can't normally, when equipment goes down, you unplug, right? Plug back in. Reboot. But that was not happening. And what we found out in the debrief was that quantum was used. So, quantum simplistically is about frequencies in this context. It's about frequencies, and frequencies matter in so many aspects of life, from spirituality all the way through tech, like what Infiltron has. So what they did was they basically zeroed out the frequencies of our satellite communications. And I believe that they created some frequencies that damaged other equipment. So these are things that, again, we found out in the debrief. And I wasn't really able to talk to that probably when we met, because I wasn't sure if it was unclassified yet. Right. But as soon as Biden started talking about quantum initiative, which was back in 2022 when we were in, I was like, everything's hitting at the right time, because we were literally in Techstars LA space. Yep. And Biden push the quantum initiative, and I'm like, see, told you. Because a lot of people doubted what I was saying because of the year that I said it had happened. And as we started to grow out our team, there are other veterans on our team from different branches, and of course we war story swap all the time. Right. And those other two people work for like NSA, and they did the same thing, telecommunications. And I'm telling the pitch deck story, and they're sitting there like, yep, that happened to us too. And I'm like, when? And they're saying different years. So at that point, we understood it happened more than once. Right. So that's why Infiltron.
So what's Infiltron? So let's bring it back to So you leave service after 8 years, after also experiencing
I still feel like I'm a part of it, because I do consult them still to a degree. So.
And once in the Air Force forever.
Always. Well, I really would have been in Space Force.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, you heard that here on the Founder Sandbox. Yes. So for my listeners, again, you check a lot of boxes. Deeptech, women in STEM. What is it exactly that your suite of services, all right? So Infiltron Software, right, has 2 patents now. And on your landing page, it says, our patented solutions utilize adaptive artificial intelligence, advanced quantum encryption, and blockchain technology to deliver real-time cybersecurity for a wide array of applications. Later on, we'll get into smart cities, but including the Internet of Things, smart devices, legacy systems, hybrid data, signals, and devices. All pretty, understandable, but what is it that Infiltron Software is able to do that others are not?
So we're able to create a easier way for businesses to migrate their devices and their software, so their applications that they use, maybe they've developed them themselves. We provide a way for them to easily migrate those entities over into a more quantum-proofed infrastructure. So we created what we've trademarked as quantum encapsulation. So just imagine something being encapsulated. And basically we've created a brand new method of leveraging quantum. The AI, we leverage it for the proactiveness. So in lieu of just waiting for threats to happen to our clients, we go look for the threat. So we want to go be where the bad guys are and hang out and bring that information back and update the solution in real time to provide protection for all of our clients in real time. So that's how we leverage the AI. The blockchain is kind of leveraged to kind of make sure that people, things like devices aren't on networks that shouldn't be. So it's kind of, we use it for what blockchain was pretty much basically developed for, and that's a ledger. So
Okay.
we're
Yeah.
keeping up with the transactions of what's
Mhm.
happening in a client's infrastructure.
Fantastic. So it's largely a B2B business, yours, right?
We
And
do. We have B2B, but we've been approached several times here recently with by consumers because now because of the biometric protection aspect of our solution, using the quantum encapsulation, we can protect, say, Halle Berry from being deep faked, or protecting her likeness from being used without her knowledge in movies, CGI'd into movies. So it's kind of getting a little bit more consumerish
nice.
as we iterate, right?
Yeah, and we were briefly speaking before the podcast recording, Chasity and I've known her for years. She's a very private person, would not allow photographs, and so I told my producer, I'm certain Chastity's not going to be sending us a picture, but you said yes, that you might, because you do have biometric artificial intelligence safeguards that
Hmm.
can actually discover deep fakes, right?
Yes, yes, yep. If it
Very
didn't come
powerful.
from us, if it wasn't checked box from us, it wasn't them. It wasn't approved by the person. So it's kind of pretty much that simple.
Amazing. Well, later on in the show notes, we will have how to contact you at Infiltron. So you are in the startup ecosystem. Again, you travel a lot. You're between Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Los Angeles, and actually the Bay Area.
Yeah, the Bay Area.
Right. So revenue can be elusive, right?
Mhm.
Especially in tech, and especially in these really large markets that I call deep tech and leading edge, bleeding edge, right? People don't know what they're actually buying, right? Or that they probably don't even know that they have a need, right? What's been your strategy at Infiltron to keep the revenue flowing, while maintaining also a pretty playful, innovative culture? You talked about your team, and so that's kind of two questions. So, how have you kept revenue coming, right?
Mhm.
While not going out for dilutive funding yet, but tell us a little bit about what's your business model?
So the business model in itself is set up for B2B, and we also have a licensing element there. So if for instance, a Fortune 500 company who has a cyber team, right? They have an internal cyber team. If they want to license out the patents that we have and kind of customize it or create or build off of those, use it as a baseline for what they need for their systems, we offer that as well. So let me just
Excellent.
put that out there. Um, but back to your question, how do we keep it fun? Like, so the team, the original team members, so
Yeah.
should I say? So we met about 7 years ago at a place called the Gathering Spot in Atlanta. So the Gathering
Okay.
Spot is a community, and then they just opened one in LA, and I do go to the one in LA too when I'm there. But
Okay.
it's a community of people, creatives, from creative people to deep tech people like myself, and everything in between.
Okay.
We went to a Black tech event at the Gathering Spot and found ourselves not being able to get into it, the actual room. So we ended up, because they have a bar and everything at the Gathering Spot. It's a social club too. It has
Mhm.
a social club aspect to it too. But you can network there, have meetings there, meet all types of people. I mean, known people. I mean, it's a great concept. Shout out to Ryan. Um, but we found ourselves at the bar, and we're looking at each other. We're like, we knew each other because we had been introduced by the Umbrella person, Tracy,
Yes. Yes.
because they had done some things for her with a previous startup that she had development wise. So
Mhm.
we're all sitting at the bar and we're looking at each other like, but we're the real tech people. like it's like we the real tech people. Well, and we can't even get in there. We know the organizers personally and everything.
So let's start a company.
Yeah. Well, what we did was we launched we launched Kit Labs.
Okay.
And it was literally right down the street from the gathering spot in Atlanta. And it was a space that we could build tech and connect to the community. So it's not far from the AUC, and the AUC is where Morris Brown, Morehouse, Spelman, and Clark Atlanta are.
Got it.
So a lot of times you would come in there and find some of the founders, because this was founded by myself and like 6 or 7 other Black tech founders.
Okay.
The ones that were outside drinking, like, but that's where we had that conversation. The conversation started at the bar, being outside of that first Black tech meetup, so to speak.
Nice.
With Joey Womack, who is a part of Goody Nation, who we did get a $50K grant from back in 2020 through Google for Startups. Let me just say so much. We're so interconnected. I mean, Atlanta is Wakanda. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. It's definitely Wakanda. But literally, like not even a mile away from the gathering spot, we opened up Kit Labs. It's a smart lab where we can tinker with stuff. We're engineers, we're tech people. We need a maker space. We don't necessarily need a space that is compared, the gathering spot was a little bit more buttoned up than what we needed. We needed to be able to throw things and make things. We had everything from like 3D printers to VR, AR headsets. I mean, anything in tech, innovative fun, is in that lab. But
is
that's
it still around today, Chasity?
So we dissolved it. So it's been dissolved. Well, one of the founders, he unfortunately transitioned. So and he was kind of like the pillar of it, and it kept going for a while, but it was just a lot of people like myself too. It was 2 female founders, Dr. Nashley Cephas, who herself is from Jackson, Mississippi. I'm shouting out everybody, right? She's from Jackson, Mississippi, and she bought 10 acres in downtown Jackson, Mississippi, and started a nonprofit called Bean Path. And she basically took the concept of what we were doing at Kit Labs and brought it to her hometown. So, and it's so funny. She actually founded it on my birthday. It's on my birthday. So I was like, okay, I can dig that. But we're still connected. Everybody still works with each other. If I have to come in and do some things around cyber for a contract or, commercial or whatever client that they have, I do. Like we all kind of still work together on each other's things. So
that has allowed you to bring in some revenues, right? Through
for
service
sure.
contracts. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Consultant wise, because they're like, I think people may look at Infiltron and think that there's not a human touch piece there, but if you're dealing with me, there's always gonna be a human touch point there, because we have to consult the client. I can't assume, we cannot assume what you need. We have to actually have a conversation with our clients throughout the process, even after we possibly have set up the platform for you, trained your people on it. There still needs to be an element of communication, human communication, right? But the team, we've been working together for about 7 years.
Yes.
Infiltron has been around for 5, going on 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, mutual respect. We're still kids at heart. I mean, we grew up wanting to be engineers. So you really can't take the light of innovation out of an engineer unless they're just at the point of not wanting to do it anymore. So we're always, what I found is most people in any engineering discipline are very curious and forward thinking. So we're kind of like a community. We are a community, not kind of like, but we are a community of folks that contribute to each other's, projects.
Endeavors. Yeah.
And not just not just business wise, but personally. Like I mean, we've been around each other for almost a decade. So there's been kids born, and like I just said, one of our founders transitioned. Like we've been through some things together that have brought us closer together. And you can, I believe, when you have a team like that, and we're all diverse, you know, when you have a team like that, that cultivates innovation for sure.
You know, I've had a few guests to my podcast, and I also write about this, that creativity is only possible, or it's greatly possible, when you create a fun environment and
Mhm.
make games out of things and have, right, and set up teams. So I think a shout out to you and what you've set up at Infiltron and in its earlier rendering at Kit Labs, just creating an environment that allows for what ifs, right?
Right.
Is
There
key.
are a lot of what ifs in cyber.
I bet you there. So I have a boatload of questions here. One is before we get into like your fundraising path, um, you again, I mentioned earlier you have two patents patents that have been issued.
Mhm.
Um, what is post-quantum encryption technology in layman language? Post-quantum encryption technology.
So there is um, definitely confusion out there that has been addressed. Um, and because there is a difference between post secure quantum and encryption. There's a difference. So
Excellent.
post quantum encryption, it is designed to protect data from quantum computers. So
And that's done through the encapsulation?
for us,
Yes, for you.
that is how we provide the protection, the encryption. That is the quantum encapsulation is a method of encryption um,
Excellent.
with Infiltron.
And your
So
secret sauce.
the current encryption. So you have things like RSA and
Mhm.
elliptical curve, which elliptical curve is more widely used and kind of being marketed as quantum encryption. And it is. It is. It's on the list of quantum protections, right? Or quantum methods of encryption protection. So companies like Okta use
Yes.
ECC a lot. But what's happening is that quantum computers are being built now.
Yes. Mhm.
Like right now,
Yeah, cost is going down.
yeah, there's no waiting 5 years from now. Like I urge anyone under the sound of my voice to prepare now for quantum computer attacks.
Okay.
The same thing that I described happening to us when we were deployed is going to happen. And again, I alluded to feeling like uh, situations like Colonial Pipeline and Solar Winds were, I feel like they were tests because there were so many different elements of what we saw in the deployment that happened in those two cases. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, because I'm sitting there and think it's like 2020, 2021, 2019. Actually, it
Mhm.
started. They just didn't know, but
Mhm.
and it's still going like 20 Solar Winds was still going. The last time I checked, Solar Winds was still unraveling. Like it's
Yeah.
still going.
Yeah.
Um, but back to the question. So for us, quantum encapsulation for us is breakthrough. So NIST has had these challenges, right, where
Mhm.
they put out um, bidding for companies, researchers, because a lot of people that are in the quantum space, whether it's physics, mechanics, are generally found in academia. They're not at Infiltron. They're not at QED. They're just not there, right? It's very
Right.
far in between, and we generally have to lure them,
Mhm.
or we have to do something like um, partner with them on grants, like the STTR grants. Like that's the only way, generally the only way that we can probably connect with the academia or pierce them and have them work with us. And
Absolutely.
they usually through that take all the funding, but it's you're still
Exposed, right?
you're exposed, but you're also getting the expertise that you possibly need and can't rightly find in the freelancing world.
Yeah.
So it generally works out in the long run. But so our encapsulation is a breakthrough method, because I look at it like this. NIST is holding these challenges, and nothing against NIST. We're connected. I contribute to NIST and everything, but they are holding these challenges, and basically they're telling the hackers what people are going to, the framework, what people are going to have to adhere to when they create their quantum algorithms to protect their devices and data. You know, you're giving away the secret ingredients. So like, even if they don't know specifically your algorithm, they know what you've based it off of. And that gives it, like a tiny thread can unravel a whole t-shirt, right? So I look at it like that. So, and even before, you know, we were already developing things before NIST put out these challenges. We are in alignment. We can adhere and adhere to the framework that they're putting out, because, you know, you have the DoD space who definitely follows their framework, especially when it comes to the risk management framework. So they're going to follow NIST. Regardless, they're going to follow their framework, whatever they put out about cybersecurity protection. The DoD space and all of its agencies are going to follow that. However, being in the cybersecurity space every day, seeing what is happening, and knowing that you've given some clues, some contextual clues to the malicious hackers about what you're using as a baseline to build your algorithms. Well, guess what we have is not that. Like, we are one of the things that differentiates us right now, because I'm sure as quantum cybersecurity continues to grow legs, so to speak, people are going to start using the less susceptible to hacks by quantum computers methods. So you have things like multivariate hash code. So these are some of the quantum properties that you can use that are not generally hackable by a quantum computer. They won't be hackable by a quantum computer. So we leverage some of that. It was like, if I'm built, I looked at it like this. I've been in cyber. I've been in tech for almost 20 years. I know I don't look it. I get it all the time. You don't have to say it. I've been in tech for almost 20 years. I've been, and when I was in the Air Force, we call it InfoSec. It's the same thing. And that dates me. If you hear somebody say InfoSec, trust me, they've been in cybersecurity for at least 20 plus years. So, but it's cybersecurity. That's what it is. And I've seen the changes, and I paid my dues too. Like, when I got out of the Air Force, I'll just side note, like, I cut grass and loved it. I would go back and do it if I can make millions of dollars doing it. Like, it's very fulfilling. Don't let anybody fool you. Like, but I like being outside. But my first tech job, though, I literally went through the phone book, because this was like still, you know, internet was not quite what it is now, of course, but it was like still growing. And I went through the yellow pages and went through the aerospace companies and called all of them and was like, hey, I just got out of the Air Force, looking for a job. I don't care if it's an intern or co-op. And L3 before they merged with Harris, they created me a co-op. And but I again, still in touch with, because, you know, L3 is a huge government contracting company, right? And in the satellite communication space, because it aligned with my background. And so I've seen it all. I've seen the changes of InfoSec into cybersecurity. And now we're entering a new frontier with quantum cyber security. So I've been here maybe at the latter part of the InfoSec, but definitely through the cybersecurity, and here to forge some guidelines and pathways in the quantum cybersecurity space with Infiltron. So when Infiltron was founded in 2019, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna start something new in cyber, and we hadn't even gotten to the quantum piece yet. They hadn't even gotten to me yet. Like
Right.
it started, like
Because it was top
I was getting the
security.
downloads, yeah, because I'm a reader. I wake up looking at cyber news and
Mhm.
just staying in the know, because I need to know what's going on so I can protect my clients, whether that was me in a government contracting position, or me as a consultant in my businesses. So I need to know what's going on. And if I'm going to build something new, why am I going to build it with compromised parts?
Right. That's a great way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, like it didn't make, forget the tech. It didn't make logical sense. Like if I'm going to build something new, a SaaS product, that's going to integrate and be flexible and adaptable and proactive, why would I use RSA encryption when I know what's coming?
Got it.
So,
That will be one of the snippets that I share in my YouTube channel as well as the podcast. That is excellent. Why build something with compromised parts? Frontier technology, quantum cybersecurity is what Infiltron is about. Next generation. Talk to me a little bit more for us less tech savvy listeners about the use of Infiltron in SLEGov's program for smart cities. That kind of brings it more home and more tangible. How is the technology used for smart cities?
so first, AccelaGov through leading cities,
Yes.
it connects companies like ours with municipalities to tackle urban challenges. So for us, it's infrastructure, security, and sustainability. So
Got it.
we were a finalist in Leading Cities Global Competition back in 2021.
Okay.
And we've worked through them. We've been able to work with city leaders to secure IoT systems and critical infrastructure.
Nice.
And quick shout out to Michael Lake.
Okay.
He's the founder of Leading Cities, amazing guy. Another keep in touch, answer the email quickly person. He's based in Boston, but he's built a very supportive ecosystem. So shout out to Michael Lake. But as a part of this program, we're offering smart cities our enhanced quantum vulnerability assessment.
Okay.
And this is to help the smart city leaders identify areas that need better quantum protections now. We've just had a session on November the 11th, Veterans Day.
Yes. Yes.
And the second one is coming up December the 5th. So if you're a smart city leader or CISO, small, medium, large enterprise, no matter what market you're in, definitely tap in. You can register for it on the Leading Cities website or on our website at infiltron.net.
Yeah, that's on December 9th, 2024 at 1 p.m. Is that Eastern?
December 5th.
December
Or
5th?
December
No,
9th.
it's the 9th because I have it
Yeah.
here in front of me.
And that's my cousin's birthday. So yeah, it's December 9th.
Did you get to influence
Yeah.
choice of dates?
Yeah.
So let's jump into your startup. You've taken in very little dilutive funding. How much money have you raised to date? And how have you, what is the next phase, right? In terms of outreach for fundraising.
So we've raised 120K, and that was through Techstars LA Space cohort. Bootstrapped, still counting. I do not take a salary. I could take one, but it's the long game for me. And I still consult. Don't let these people tell you not to quit your job and be an entrepreneur. Don't let people do that, especially if you have a family. Don't let these people try to guilt you or shame you because you still have a job while you're building your startup. don't let, don't do it. Because I do have a company that I started called Wright Tech Solutions, and we still, that's why I said I still feel like I'm in the Air Force because I still consult them. So, so I can, the revenue that we do, and we've hit 500K
Okay.
In revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could easily take a salary, right? But it's the long game for me. It's the global expansion, more IP and patents, protections, right? Because we do have global clients. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure of before we even took on the clients was that we had legal backing there. So IP, trademarks, at
Right.
least patent is, at least the application is pending. Like I wanted to at least have that. And we have great attorneys. Shout out to Malika Tyson, and Matthew and Dorian, who they took over because I had an attorney, IP attorney that had her own boutique firm, and then she had to go back. She just couldn't do the entrepreneurship. It's not for everybody, but we still stay in contact as well. But she introduced me to McAndrews. They're based out of Chicago, and they are the legal team for Infiltron. I always tell them that when we're on calls, like, you are the legal team. Like,
Absolutely.
anything that I need from them legal wise, they do it. I literally just sent a partnership NDA over to Malika this morning, and she just sent it back to me. So, like, that's not IP and trademark, right? But they do it, and I always tell them how much I appreciate them, because IP and trademarks are not free,
No.
and they're not inexpensive. So,
Right.
and then imagine, we have one pending now in Japan. We just got one in Canada. So yeah, like, it's expensive. It's
Yeah.
expensive. So a lot of the funding that we get now is going to be allocated to paying them. Even though they work with us, but it's going to be paying them, doing some iterations. We have a partnership where there's some hardware that's going to be involved. We're definitely tapping into the hardware, so we'll be forging our way there, because people like things they can touch. SaaS isn't necessarily something that you can touch, although put it into a platform
Yes.
makes it a little bit more tangible for people, visual at least. So
So
in
you may
the
have some CapEx, right?
yeah, I mean, hardware has always been a part of
Yep.
the vision.
That's it.
FPGAs. We have another colleague of mine. He has developed a cryptocurrency mining machine, and it leverages quantum. So it's mining at exponential speeds, right? Because it's generally what quantum does. It speeds things up.
It speeds exactly in
Yeah.
simplified terms. All right.
So yeah, I mean, definitely still going after CIBR's traditional government contracts, and
Mm-hmm.
globally, we participated in fintech down in the Bahamas last October. So because we are in the fintech space, and um, there's a lot of similarities between fintech and space tech,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're talking about fault zeros
Mm-hmm.
and being able to detect anomalies,
Mm-hmm.
both of those markets need that, and they need
Yes.
it quick. So
Right.
we've
You
been
heard it
able to
here.
kind of, yeah, like, we've been able to leverage some of the things that we're learning in both of those for each other. So we've been able to participate in some conferences. We're actually getting ready to go to Barbados in January for FinTech Islands. I'll be speaking
Mm-hmm.
about the kind of the intersection of the quantum age and what's coming in respect to the fintech space, cryptocurrency, Web3, traditional finance, and AI, because we do
Yes.
leverage AI, and we've been in the AI space. Infiltron's been in the AI space from the beginning.
Yeah.
One of our advisors is an AI evangelist at AWS. I did say her name earlier on this podcast,
Mhm.
but she's amazing. She's a Georgia Tech grad. We do have a few Georgia Tech people on the team. but she's amazing, and I'm able to tap her. I've been able to tap her because she was one of the kit founders. So I've been able to tap her about AI and machine learning very early on. So all of the LLMs and the SLMs that everybody's kind of talking about, we've been doing it. Like even as small as we are, we've been doing it.
Yeah. So, Chasity, how can my listeners contact or get information about Infiltron?
So
For them to do that.
yeah, of course, the website. So infiltron.net. You can follow us on all of our socials at Infiltron Software Suite. It might be, I think on Twitter is Infiltron app. Just wanted to keep it short. And then, or you can email us at infiltronapp@gmail.com. And I know people are going to be like, why you use Gmail? That's another filter. That's another filter. And that's an email that everybody on the team can look at and not be bombarded with, because spam and, it's just, everybody has their own email address, but
so you probably, it's a test environment for all of the beautiful quantum encryption that you're working on.
Yes.
What better way to start? Yeah, Gmail, right? Google knows a lot more about us than we'd like them to.
Oh, Google knows everything. Even when you turn location off. Oh, Instagram. I just posted something about Instagram. So Instagram's new, they just updated their policy maybe a month ago, maybe.
Okay.
And whether you want to or not, they now have access to your photos, your GPS location, everything. Even if you say no, even if you turn it off, they still can track you. Just put that out there, guys.
Yeah. So if you deplatform, so that there's cause to deplatform, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. All right, we're coming down to the section of the podcast where I like to ask each of my guests what the following 3 words mean to you, because this is what I do with my consulting business. In addition to my podcast, I work with founders that are really building resilient, purpose-driven, and scalable businesses. What's resilience mean to you, Chasity?
Man, that's a word that I use. Resilient. I mean, you gotta think about it. I'm Black, trying to raise money. It's hard for Black people to raise money. On top of that, I've been, I've come face to face with people that didn't believe that I wrote my own patents, like, as if Black people didn't invent a lot of things, like that we still use today. Like, come on. I mean, it's just the truth. Resilience for me is bending but never breaking.
Bending but never breaking.
Yeah, it's about adapting to challenges. I just mentioned some, and facing them. Like you can't. I'm about to sound like Jay-Z when I say this. You can't run from the pain. You got to run towards it. So you can come out stronger on the other side. And it's not necessarily about survival. It's transformation.
It's transformation.
It's transformation. And that transformation is preparing you for what's next. And you'll be standing taller than you were before.
Amazing. Thank you. Purpose-driven. What's a purpose-driven enterprise?
Yeah. I'm a visionary. So like, there's a lot of founders that I've met. If I have the opportunity to get close to them or kind of hear them speak about what they're building, to include myself, because I do talk to myself about the things that I'm building. I counsel myself. I'm sure my ancestors are around me. Purpose it should be intentional. I think that it's kind of interchangeable for me.
Yes.
But in the context of the question that you asked, a purpose-driven enterprise. So it's the heartbeat in what we build here at Infiltron. I can definitely say that. It's creating meaningful solutions that solve real problems.
Yes.
And
Beautiful.
in solving those real problems, you're still staying true to the mission. I still bring that aspect of the military into Infiltron. We are mission focused. We
Mission
have
focused.
fun. We do hackathon. We do all the fun things, right? Because again, that cultivates innovation too, and it keeps it
Yes.
spicy. You need to let things be spicy, because in a regular, degular cybersecurity job, you're probably bored. Like, I mean, let's just be real. Like, you're probably bored. You're probably looking at Excel spreadsheets and creating a report by hand from that. Like, it's boring. Like, um, but it's also making moves that matter.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's solving problems that, for me, leave a legacy.
Mhm.
And just never losing sight of why we started in the first place. So
Never losing sight. Excellent. What about scalable? So how does
that's one of those VC's favorite words.
That's right, because that's what they want to see a
How will
return.
you scale?
That's
Um,
right.
I mean, I'm an investor too, guys. Don't get it twisted. Like, I think that was a question that I did ask with one of the investors I had. Like, how are you going to get over that challenge? Like, before I give you this money, scalable. So growth, like, we can think about growth in so many different ways, like growth, personal growth, because
Mhm.
if you embark on the entrepreneur trek, you are going to be and need to be open to growth. Like, to me, entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey.
Beautiful.
I spoke about the Southern Baptist roots, but I don't really, I'm not spiritual. I'm a yoga meditating, put my feet in the sand, grass grounding person nowadays. But still bringing that element of praying, and like, it's all the same to me. They just changed the name of God, right? Just That's just my perspective. But growth isn't just about getting bigger. It's about getting better. And me speaking about the personal aspect, that is what growth is. It might not feel good, while it's happening. But once you get through it and you can get in a reflective mindset, and look back with what you just came through, and be grateful, like, find gratitude in it. Um, you know, that's how I look at growth. It's expanding it mindfully, and staying grounded in your values, um,
Yes.
and making sure that every step that you take going forward strengthens the foundation that you've already built. Um, and it's, like I said, it's moving with intention. And
Moving with intention.
and while you're moving with intention, you're also preserving the quality and the vision that define you.
Which goes back to purpose driven. Yes. Thank you. Last question, Chastity. Did you have fun in the sandbox?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's you. We already have a great rapport. I'll say this. One of my favorite memories of you is when you brought Ty to the table, to kind of see if they could invest in Infiltron, and it was too early. But we had to sign an NDA. It was some type of contract, but it was during Mercury retrograde.
Okay.
And you said it before I said it. I was like, I wonder if she's on to this type, because I wasn't going to sign it. I was going to try to delay it as much as possible. But you're like, no, let's wait till after Mercury retrograde. So I was like, oh, she's my people. She's my people. And I was like, and I think I responded like, let's wait 5 days so it's like clear. So that solidified it for me with you.
I love it. I
I
love
don't
it.
generally hear that in business.
No,
Yeah.
no. And the Founder Sandbox, again, is a pretty eclectic podcast bringing in deep tech founders like Chasity Wright that are on the frontier, bringing in what the future will it's the future's here.
It's
So
here.
that's right. So to my listeners, if you like this episode with Chasity Wright, CEO and founder of Infiltron, sign up for the monthly release of this podcast where founders, business owners, corporate directors, and professional service providers share their own experiences on building with strong governance a resilient, scalable, and purpose-driven company to make profits for good. So signing off for this month. Thank you, Chasity, and
Thank
hope
you,
to see you
Brenda,
soon.
so much.